the respected speaker of the day, CA AnshulGoyal ji. Senior is the profession, ladies and gentlemen. Very first, good evening to all present on this today's webinar on virtual mode. This is our this webinar is on US CPA journey for chartered accountants, or how to do US CPA while sitting at home under the under our series knowledge refresher and updation series. We have organized a lot of webinars on different topics like bank audit, Canadian CPA, GST, income tax, or any or other various topics. Now in that series, this is our next webinar, and today's guest speaker is CA AnshulGoyal ji. Now I'll introduce him to the house, and after that he will deliver to all the members on the today's topic. CA AnshulGoyal is an experienced, result-driven tax professional and expert with multi-countries, federal, state taxes, accounting, business setup, such as USA, UK, India, Canada, etc., supporting businesses and taxpayers to be fully compliant in the complex tax environment. He is helping US businesses and taxpayers with filing 1040, 1120, 1120S, 5472, 5471, franchise tax, sales tax, use tax, VAT, GST, business incorporations, accounting, QuickBooks, online, Salesforce, etc. Also supporting with PPP loan applications and PPP loan forgiveness. He is helping UK businesses and taxpayers with incorporation, accounting, corporate tax filings, annual reports, income tax filings, VAT registrations, and VAT filings. Also demonstrated history and proven track record of achieving targeted goals in the areas of taxation and tax appeals, tax litigations, both indirect taxes and direct taxes, and tax compliance specialist, optimizing business compliances in a complex environment. He is having 9+ years of working experience with multinational corporations, including large, mid-size, and small companies in indirect taxes, GST, VAT, and sales tax law for multiple jurisdictions and geographical locations. His expertise includes tax research, tax advisory services, tax compliance, tax litigation, due diligence, tax appeals, indirect taxes with a mix of financial accounting, regulatory, and financial management. Before inviting him on the dais to deliver all the members, I would like to bring it to the knowledge of all the members that this webinar is on the specific request of lot of members. Lot of members sent me a request regarding US CPA as well as Canadian CPA to organize a webinar on this topic. And I am very much thankful to AnshulGoyal ji who gave immediate consent on this US CPA topic for deliberation. Also, I request all the members, if any member want to get any webinar on any topic, then he or she can send me WhatsApp on my mobile number 98149 Now, no more standing between you and the worthy speaker. I request the AnshulGoyal to please enlighten all the members on the today's topic, US CPA, and also advise our members how can they pursue CPA in while sitting at home in this COVID pandemic. Please, sir. AnshulGoyal, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Hitesh ji, for giving me this opportunity where I could share my experience and also the knowledge where our CA fraternity members can definitely take the advantage of completing the US CPA course in a short time frame, I would say. And it's really achievable, practically speaking, with my own experience, where I was able to pass the US CPA exam in just quick 5 months in first attempts, I would say. And since then, I have been working with a lot of US clients in multiple states in the US. And also, the whole world is investing in the United States. So it's not just the Americans, but it's Australians or the Saudi Arabian people, the Gulf. So a lot of people around the world, every country is like investing in the United States. So it's really important for our members, to grab this opportunity and learn how we could participate and contribute in our profession, where we can explore the international opportunities, recognizing our profession, our strengths, our experience, and our knowledge, where we can deliver the clients in a global frame. So let's dive into today's webinar. And I would like to share my screen. Hitesh ji, may I?
Definitely, you can share your screen. You are now co-host. Also,
sure.
You can use English. What I would say, rather I would say Hindi and English, mixture of Hindi and English. because we all are North Indian and Hindi is our base.
Right,
Please,
sir.
sir.
Okay, take it. So, starting with today's webinar, so the Uniform CPA exam, which is conducted by the AICPA. Now, AICPA is a federal organization in the United States, but it is not the organization where you would get the license. And it is, and also there are multiple I would say ICAI in each state. For example, in India we have one institute which is regulating at federal level, but in the United States there is a federal organization, AICPA, but AICPA does not recognize the CPA licenses. It does not, I would say, it just conducts the exams, that's it. But the registrations are not held by the AICPA. So therefore, you have to pursue your CPA with a state jurisdiction where you would apply your application and start the CPA journey. So moving forward, so I would give you an overview right now with the United States CPA exams, and what are the qualifications, what are the eligibilities, what is the process to apply with the application, and which state you should go for being a chartered accountant, being an international candidate for the US CPA. So starting with why you should choose the United States Certified Public Accountancy course. Uh, as I mentioned in the beginning, that there are huge opportunities. The entire world is investing in the United States. So definitely there is huge earning potential, which can definitely increase the revenues for your offices up to 10 times, I would say. And so the top 5 reasons to pursue the CPA is earning potential, the career opportunities. Once you start exploring your strengths and the opportunities in the global environment, you're just not going to work with the US clients, but definitely outside the US as well, because those people are investing in the US. And then it provides you a stability, because United States, the taxations law, for example, it's something which goes around the year. And once you file an extension to file a tax return, then the things drags up for more 6 months, because that's the extension time you get. So definitely it's like all the year around where you're just providing your taxation services, which is a huge $1 million industry in the US. And then it provides you flexibility. As I said, you would be working with multiple clients, and it's a prestigious and very respectful, because it is a global designation. Definitely our CA profession is equivalent to the CPA. United States Certified Public Accountant is something which provides you a little edge in terms of getting an international clients. So it is expected, the accounting and the auditing employment growth is expected up to 6% through 2028. So how does the US CPA will help protect the public interest? There are 4 E's to the CPA licensure, which is the experience, education, exam, and the ethics. So the educational requirements, that is the first step to start your CPA journey. And the minimum requirement for the journey is you have to be a bachelor's. Now, in my case, I'm not a bachelor's practically. I didn't do my BCom. So my only educational criteria was a chartered accountant. That's it, and which gave me almost 70 credits for CA inter exams and for CA final exams. The NASBA, which is the authority which evaluates your foreign credentials, so they provide 5 credits for each CA inter and CA final exams. So 8 plus 6, total 14 exams into 5 is total 70 credits. So the best state to apply with those credits is the Montana, California. Those are the 2 states out of the total 55 jurisdictions, I would say, which does not have a minimum credits requirement for education. Out of those 55, almost 53 states, they have minimum 120 credits requirement. and which is equivalent to 30 credits for each year of your bachelor's. So for example, you did your BCom, so 1 year is equivalent to the 30 credits. So 3 years will be equivalent to 90 credits. And still you will be short of those 30 credits to be minimum eligible for the exam. So since we are, in this webinar, I assume that, we all are members of the ICAI, and so your 70 credits plus 90 can give you an edge to have more flexibility in deciding which jurisdiction you would like to pursue. But in case you have only the CA credentials and you don't have any bachelor's, so definitely the Montana or the California is the best state that you can start your CPA journey. But at the end, once you pass your exams, for the license part, they have minimum 150 credits. So that is mandatory across all 55 states. For giving the exams, for having the eligibility to sit for the exams, definitely the credits will vary across different states. But for the license part, you need 150 credits. So that's the place where you need to get some extra credentials, and you might need to apply for, you need to start studying for bachelor's, you need to have some additional credentials. So later in this webinar, I will share how you can fill up those gaps where you can be eligible for the license also and complete to 150 credits or 120 credits, even if you're getting short with that. So one of the criteria, the first step for your CPA journey is the educational requirements. And then once you file your application with the NASBA is actually the authority who is going to evaluate your Indian educational credentials, and they will convert those to the US credentials, and they will provide you a report that these are the credits you have been allotted. And once the report is provided with the NASBA, they forward that report directly to the state jurisdiction which you will choose at the time of the application. So ultimately, the approval to sit for the exams, the eligibility for the exams is going to come from the state with which you will apply your CPA journey, your CPA application form. So that's why ASCPA is just the authority who is going to conduct the exam in partnership with the Prometric. Prometric is this testing center where you will go and have your computer-based exam. So your application is going to be processed at the state level, and once your application is processed, you get the approval, you file your NTS application, you choose which exams you want to give. But the best part is you have the flexibility to choose whichever exam you want to sit first and whenever you want, because now during the pandemic, the ASCP and the Prometric, they came together, they considered I would say the issues among the candidates internationally. Importantly, they provided the flexibility for international candidates that they can sit for the exams around 365 days throughout the year. Earlier, they used to have the blackout period at the end of each quarter for 20 days. But since last year, they did major changes in their exam conduction, and they provided this flexibility where the candidates can go with the exam 365 days around the year. You can book your exam any day you are flexible, you're comfortable with, and go to the Prometric Center and sit for the exam. So once we move forward in the webinar, I will go in more in-depth information how to select your exam, how to select the states, and how to have a study curriculum where you can pass the exam in short span of time, within months, I would say. So the second is the exam. So total there are 4 exams, and in my experience, I would say it is equivalent to your 16 the 8 exams of the CA final. So the entire CA course is categorized in the 4 exams of the US CPA. So you will find a lot of subjects like costing, your IT, uh, information technology subjects, costing, the financial management, the auditing even. Um, they will quite match with the US CPA syllabus. Some of the areas like taxation, definitely different jurisdictions will have different tax laws, and and different business laws, corporation laws. So except for those areas, and except for the US GAAP, the accounting part. So these are the two areas where you really need to put a lot of efforts. But for your costing and financial management, IT exams, economics, we all have in-depth knowledge and experience, dealing with all these things. So you will have definitely a cutting edge in those areas while preparing for the exams. So there are total 4 exams for the US CPA. The biggest myth, or I would say the biggest question which everybody has, that does US CPA provide any exemptions to the chartered accountants? I would say no, because there is no MOU and there is no MRA signed between the two institutes. For example, like CPA Canada, UK Chartered Accountancy, ICAEW, CPA Australia, we have various MOUs and the MRA signed with them. But with the United States, we don't have any such agreements as of yet. So therefore, you have to sit for all the exams. And the minimum passing criteria is 75. So the passing criteria is little huge as compared to chartered accountancy course, where it is like 40%, 40 marks. But definitely the exam content is in depth, but the level of testing, I would say it's not so in depth, I would say, but because it will give you an overview. They don't expect you to be so much in depth of knowledge, but definitely you have to cover every aspect of the preparations of the content. But the exam level of difficulty, they start with the mediocre level, and then as per you proceed with the testing. We'll check this later in the webinar, that how the CPA Prometric computer-based exams adjusts its level of testing as per the previous question that you have answered. So that is something where the artificial intelligence technology comes into the picture, and you have to be really mindful how to strategize your entire journey of CPA. So it is possible that you can pass in really quick 5 months, 6 months, or 10 months, whatever time you want. You don't have to be in hurry like me, because last year, the 2020 was the year when the US CPA started testing in India for the first time. And they had only 2 months of the testing window, which was the June and September. So I was in an impression that I should finish it off in those 2 testing windows. So I took up 2 exams in a month.
एक्सक्यूज मी अंशुल जी, कुछ मेंबर्स की क्वेरीज आ रही हैं चैट बॉक्स में, वो साथ साथ ले
Right,
लें कि
sir.
बाद में लें?
So we can take up 1 or 2 queries in between, not an issue.
बट क्वेरीज, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ क्वेरीज, या तो अब आप चलो कवर कर लीजिए, बाद में कंप्लीट कर लेंगे, बाद में ले लेंगे सारी क्वेरी, काफी
ठीक है
क्वेरीज आ
सर.
रही हैं.
Right, sir. No issue, no issue.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू.
Right. So you have to be really critical of your strategies. That is really important, and consistency is the key. You have to build your day schedule. Being a chartered accountant in practice, it was difficult for me. During the pandemic, definitely we all had a little bit of time. But when the offices opened up in the month of June, the tax season in India started up. The clients rushed up. Everything is in a total panic mode. But still, even if you give an hour to your study schedule every day, it's going to give you a result. It's going to give you the desired result which you want. So the consistency is definitely going to be the key to pass the exams. And the next is the ethics. Now, like in India, I mean, we all study the ethics during our CA final course, but for the US CPA journey, this ethics exam is going to come up later when you pass the CPA exams. And depending upon which state you have selected, you might not even have to give the ethics exam. depending upon the state with which you are pursuing your CPA license, your CPA exams. Um, so ethics exam is not going to be mandatory for each state, I would say. And the later is the experience. And now this is also a part of the CPA license, where you need to have a minimum of 1 year of experience, which has to be signed by a CPA. But there is another advantage I would like to share, and I have seen a lot of people are not aware. States like California, they do recognize your foreign work experience. So that means, being a chartered accountant, you have your own practice, or you are in the partnership, so you have a partner senior to you, junior to you, no problem. But definitely, if you have a partner, the partner can sign on your work experience that these are the audit assignments that you had undertaken. The license, definitely, they have multiple options, whether you want to have an audit license or you want to have a non-audit license. So depending upon that, you have to submit your work experience, the documents, as per the license category which you're applying with. And the another recent update with the California, for example, I would share that now you can upload your documents for the work experience online without having to send any physical, which was required previously. So as we are moving out of the pandemic, the states in the US, the AICPA, the NASPA, and the Prometric, they are recognizing the issues for the international candidates, and definitely this is the best time to start your CPA journey, and just wind it up, as quickly as possible as you can. So moving on to the next slide. Now, what you can expect from the exam. Now, this is really critical, that what is the time frame for the exam, for each exam, and the total exam. So do we have any exemptions once we pass one exam, and if we fail the other exams? For example, in your chartered accountancy course, you pass one exam with exemption, you score 60 plus, so you get that you can have that exemption for next, I think, 2 to 3 attempts. If CHG, if you can correct me, is it like 2 to 3 attempts the students get the exemption? So in the USCPA, you have 18 months of exemption. So the 18 months will start when you sit for the exam. So once you pass an exam, and for somehow or the other you are unable to pass on the other 3 exams or any exam you have been trying with, so the exam which you passed is going to be valid for the next 18 months, which is like huge time, where you can cope up and come back again with the rest of the exams. And one exam section is 4 hours long, and which is a big time, sitting in front of a screen continuously, having your focus on the screen, definitely is going to be challenging, especially during the pandemic. We had to wear, and we will have to wear the mask. So having those kinds of challenges at the Prometric is definitely going to be something that you have to be aware of and be mentally prepared. And you do have 15 minutes of break after 2 hours of time, or there are total 5 testlets. I would say, for a simple, simplifying it, 5 parts. So one exam at the Prometric has 5 parts, and the first part starts with a medium level. Depending upon the answers you gave to those questions, the second part or the second testlet will automatically adjust itself. So therefore, if you answered all the first testlets, questions, you answered them correctly, so be prepared, you're gonna have a tough second testlet, and you would experience the questions with higher capabilities. You have to strain your mind over there. Contrary, if you don't answer the first testlet correctly, or the score is a little low, the artificial intelligence software will definitely gonna adjust depending upon the responses, and it might be at the same level. for the future questions. Now, the test list 3, 4, and 5, they are the simulations or task-based questions, which is quite. I really enjoyed those ones, frankly speaking. It will give you really a more practical experience. The documents, sorry, the documents which they will share with you, and the kind of the workings you have to do. It's everything is going to be on computer. You have to use the Excel. They might provide you the calculators, but for me it was completely useless, because when the questions are long, the calculations are long. Definitely the Excel is going to help you to save time on the exam day. And the test availability. So the test, as I mentioned previously, the testings are now available around the year, 365 days. They don't have any more blackout periods. So you can have your, I would say, availability as per the Prometric Center. They have the seat availability module on the website. You can check which days are available for the seats. And depending upon the availability, you can book your appointment with the Prometric to give the exam. And the Prometric centers in India, there are almost 8 to 9 centers in India. So for North India, it's gonna be the Gurugram. They write as Delhi on their website, but it's the Gurugram where you have to go and sit for the exam. The rest of the centers are in the South India. Hyderabad is there, Maharashtra. So those are the states where they have a couple of more of the Prometric centers. And then the break, as I mentioned, they have 50 minutes of break time. So definitely you should take up this break, because, as I said, the testing is 4 hours long, because we are habitual of sitting for 3 hours. And after coming into practice, since we gave our CA exams, which was really a tiring journey, because we all have to struggle and pass the exam. So we all are in the impression that, okay, now this is the end of the journey. We should take some break, we should relax, and we should start our own practice and everything, which is good. You should definitely have those break times. But once we adjust ourselves in those atmosphere, we get out of the exam mode. So therefore, to come back in that mode, you have to really prepare yourself mentally, which is really critical. And this 15 minutes break time is definitely gonna help you relax in between the exam, and then you come back again, and then for another 2 hours, you just need to be highly focused on the screen, what is happening, and so just go with it. Yeah. So what are the 4 sections for the USCPA exams? The first one is auditing and attestation. The second is business environment and concepts. The third is the financial accounting and reporting. And the last is the regulations. Now, the auditing and attestation, it's quite similar to our chartered accountancy course. So definitely you will have an advantage. And I was able to pass this exam in just 3 weeks of preparations. And then the second, the BEC, this is gonna cover your costing, financial management, IT, ISCA, the IT governance, COSO concepts and everything, and the economics as well. But they are really gonna test you on a practical level. So there is scope of where they will just test you on the controls across all parts in the BEC, the various controls in the IT, the various controls at the corporate governance level, the financial management part, and the costing part, how you can implement those controls. Then the third is the financial accounting and reporting, which does include the US GAAP, and especially the non-profits and the governmental accounting. Is really technical in this area. It's like it's really gonna give you a hard time. And then the last one is the regulations, REG, which includes the US taxation, not the entire US taxation, but the individual, corporate, trusts, gifts, which will take you. They will touch base, on different aspects. And it does include a contract act, which is quite similar to our Indian Contract Act. And then they have various bankruptcy laws and various corporate laws. So definitely, once you are familiar with all those 4 sections, you pass one by one those sections, you will feel that yes, you are ready to jump in the market for your future career as a USCPA. And in India, the job market and the US tax industry, it's growing up at a huge level, especially in the states of Gujarat and Hyderabad. There are a lot of BPOs and KPOs. They do the hiring, or you can start up your own practice, if you're looking forward to that. But yes, India is growing, and in the coming years, India is gonna be, a huge market for the US tax industry. So moving forward, so what is the exam structure? We know the exam process, the educational requirements. We know that there are 4 exams. We know that we have to give for the ethics and the experience required for the license. So now coming to the exam structure, so we are going to go more deep to each exam. So how does each exam looks like? So for example, taking the first section, AUD, which is the audit and attestation. So as I mentioned previously, there are 5 test lists, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 test lists. And the test list one has 36 MCQ. Each exam, they will vary, on the MCQs level. So the first testlet is really critical for your rest of the 4 testlets which are gonna come, because the first testlet will definitely decide your second testlet. But after the second testlet, the 3, 4, and 5 have no connections with the testlets 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 are MCQs, 3, 4, and 5 are the task-based simulations. So these are like the practical questions which you will have various documents, various agreements. You have to connect the questions with those documents. So these are predetermined questions. So artificial intelligence will come into the picture for question 1 and 2. So your first, sorry, the testlet 1 and the testlet 2. So the testlet 1 is gonna build up the level of difficulty for testlet 2, and therefore now it doesn't mean that you should answer your responses incorrectly for the first testlet, because the second would be tougher if you answer correctly. But luckily you might get same level, even if you answer them correctly. So you never know what is going to happen, and the markings are quite uncertain, but definitely the passing rate is huge for the USCPA. It's like 50 to 60%. So that's a biggest advantage that you can have over here. So considering the confidentiality and the introductions and the copyrights, so they have those 5 minutes of time where you have to go through the confidentiality clause, and because you cannot share those questions with anybody once you go out of the Prometric Center. And they have the optional break times, as I mentioned previously. After testlet 2, you can, usually it is recommended, for first 2 testlets, take your time for 2 hours, sit for first 2 testlets, give your time for 2 hours, and then take a break after second testlet, and then come back again, refresh yourself, and then start your 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So there might be some question that, is it the exam completely optional, MCQ based? How is it going to be? So first and 2 definitely are MCQ. The 3, 4, and 5, those are also kind of an MCQ in terms of that you have to select the answers from the drop down. In some questions, you might need to type the answers. You make the calculations. You need to type them. But you don't have to write. The written exam is only for the BEC testlet 5, as it says WCT. So that's the written communication test for the BEC. So that's the only area where you have to write your responses in detail. For the rest of the simulations, the task-based questions, you just need to select the answer, or you just need to put a number over there. Now, does AICPA or the state boards, do they provide any exam material? The answer is no, but yes, AICPA does have some materials on their website which you can access after having the membership with the AICPA. Once you register, they will provide you 6 months of free membership, and you can have access to the US GAAP standards, the auditing standards, and the regulations part, because those material, you have to use those material for your task-based simulations. So it is a kind of open book, I would say, that where you will have access to those materials in your exam, and it would be good if you can spend some time with those materials, have solving the questions. And another important point I would like to share is, you have to pay for each and everything for your USCPA journey. For example, the institute in India, they provide so much support to the students. They provide you free materials on their website, free questions, but that's not the case with the USCPA. They don't even provide you the books. So you need to find a suitable course review provider like Sargent, Beckers. In India, the Beckers is very famous, but the Sargent is the number one in this industry. And there are a lot of other courses like Roger CPA, Gleam, and you need to purchase the books with them, and also you need to purchase the questions with them. It's not free, so nothing is going to be free in this journey. So this is like an investment, and definitely you have the potential to get the returns for your investment in just 6 months or in a year maximum. So don't hesitate to put up a little bit of investments, which is going to cost you around 4 to 5 lakhs. So it's not that you have to pay all that money in one. In my case, I prepared myself. I started my journey my own. I did my own research. I did my own research with which state I can be eligible, having the bare minimum 70 credits. So I had that experience. I did my research, and which material would suit you up. So in case you need some help with those, if you have some queries, definitely you can put up in the chat box, and I will respond at the end of the webinar. So moving to the next, so exam response, exam resources. So the one is going to be the sample test, which is freely available on the ASCPA website. And this is really critical to pass the exam. For me, it was, because this sample test is something which is going to give you a live exam experience. And they have the 5 test lists. They might not have equal number of questions on those, but definitely it will give you a real exam experience with the simulations, what kind of documents you can expect in those simulations, what kind of materials and how you can access the material. It is completely a prometric experience, completely. So that's the only exam resource which is available for exam preparations. Besides that, they have some tutorials, how to apply for the CP exam, what's the process. So you can go through those. And the next is the areas, the blueprint. So what is the blueprint actually? The CPA exam blueprint provides you the content for the exam. So this blueprint can help you in understanding what you can expect, what kind of topics and what kind of questions, the questions are going to cover up the content in the exam. So definitely you should go through the blueprint. It will give you an idea, an overview, a broad perspective that how you should prepare yourself, the which topics you feel that you are confident, and the which topics you need to spend more time. So Hitesh, do you want to take up some questions at this moment?
Yes, we can, if it is comfortable to you.
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay, sir. Sir, what I suggest, the member who raised query in chat box, I would request him or her to please unmute himself or herself and raise query directly from the speaker. सबसे पहली सर query जो आई है, that is from, just a moment, CA Prabjot Kaur. Ma'am, please unmute yourself and ask your query. Sir, her query is, what if we have done BCom, MCom and CA? Actually, जब आपने बताया था ना कि you are not you have done your
Right,
CPA on the basis of CA course.
Right.
From that, at that time, she raised this query.
So definitely, if you have your bachelor's, you have your master's, and you have CA, so your credits are gonna go more higher. So you are eligible to select any jurisdiction out of the 55 states in the US. Those who don't have those minimum credits for 120, so the Montana state is the state where you can start your CPA journey, but definitely you will need to have some additional credits at the end of the exams once you pass all the exams. And if you're looking forward to your CPA license, you need to have additional credits. You need to apply for various, there are bridge courses, I would say, which provide 36 credits, and this is with the MIT, AMITY University. They provide a post-graduation diploma in public accounting course, which you can do it in 1 year. And they do provide 36 credits. So if you are lagging the credits for your license or for your CPA exams even, so you should take advantage of those.
So as you told, you got 76 you got 70 credits on the basis of chartered accountant course.
Yeah.
Right. If a person having BCom, MCom, and CA degree, then how much credit will he got?
For 1 year, you get 30 credits. So 3 years for your BCom, 2 years for your master's, 5 years into 30, 150 credits complete.
Great. Right. So next question raised by Neha Kansal. If Neha Kansal is online, she please unmute yourself and ask your query.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I had done my BCom from IGNOU University in 1 year after completing my CA.
Right. Okay.
So do I have to, I will get only 30 credits for that?
No, the criteria is they need your entire mark sheet. So as you go on the NESBA website, the IGNOU University, they do provide a consolidated mark sheet for all the 3 years of your bachelor's. So definitely you will get the 90 credits for that, plus 70 credits for your CA. So total will be approximately 160 credits.
Okay, thank you, sir. But on what basis should we choose the jurisdiction for which should we apply for CPA exam? Should we go for CPA?
Considering the jurisdictions, I will share my screen in a couple of minutes. There are various requirements with the jurisdictions, the residency requirement, the citizenship requirements. So there are some of the states where you won't be able to apply because you are not a US citizen, you are not residing in the US, but there are a lot of states, approximately 40 to 45 states, that definitely you can apply with: Florida, Texas, Montana, California, New York. So there are so many good states, where you can definitely apply your jurisdiction. But the best way to select a jurisdiction, I would say, if you're looking forward to your CPA license, then you should start with that state only. In any case, later you decide that you want to move on to another state after passing your exams. So they do have a mobility services where you can transfer your exam credits from one state to another. You need to fill up the you need to fill up the application for the mobility. But yes, that process might take some time. It might be a little time consuming, but definitely you can move from one state to another the credit that you have earned after passing your CPA exams.
So one more question: if we have applied for one jurisdiction, then is it mean that we can't file tax return for other jurisdictions of US employees?
See, both are two different things. Passing an exam doesn't provide you any license to sign a tax return, because in the US, the things are really critical. You have to be compliant, you have to be certified. You prepare a tax return, you have to be a certified professional. As a paid preparer, you have to mention your license on the tax return. So these are the two different things. But definitely, after becoming a CPA, you have a license, for example, with one state. You cannot sign a tax return for another state. So in that case, the enrolled agent course provides you, the enrolled agent license provides you more flexibility to sign the tax return at various levels.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Next question is from CA Lavlutra. One of my dear friend Lavlutra, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, greetings, sir. It is a very detailed presentation. I must say, I have researched some material, already for US CPA, Canada. You must remember, I once talked to you, I called
Yes,
you once
yes.
and
Right.
asked you about your brother and, everything that he's done. And greetings, Mr. Anshul. Uh, uh, very, commendable job. Thank you. My questions are basically extension of the previous questions and a little more. First, I would, like to ask what are the edges a US CPA gets being in CA in US or any other jurisdiction, like a graduate over there and a US CPA. What is the difference? Like here in India, you know very well that audit is a audit is a function that is purely under CA's jurisdiction. So what
Mhm.
are the jobs that he can do over there that a normal graduate cannot do?
So your question is basically what a United States CPA can do uh, in addition to a bachelor, right?
Yeah, what is the differential thing, what make gives them an edge?
Yeah, I mean, auditing is one of the areas where you have to really be licensed. But there are a couple of areas. For example, the tax industry, as I mentioned previously, it's huge, and the tax in the US is not just at federal level. Even the income tax is at the state level. And if you read the New York tax laws, they have their state income taxes at city level even. So the tax industry is something where you have to be really prepared with. You have the advantage being a certified person. People are gonna look to you, with more credibility, integrity, that this is the person who can support us with. Because the people in the US are a lot of people, where I came across with my clients. Uh, I mean, people they don't really care for filing the tax returns. The accounts are like messed up. So definitely these people will come, they will look for a person, who can support them. And that's what where your license is going to give you a cutting edge. Besides that, there is a course we have DISA, so there is CISA in the US. So that's another area where you can be a certified person and have, there is huge job market for that as well. Then they have internal auditor course as well, the Institute of Internal Auditors, IIA. So they provide a designation CIA, Certified Internal Auditor. So that's another area where you can explore as a certified person.
Yeah, thank you. And the other one would be the extension of choosing the right state.
Mhm.
Like let's say I think you went with California,
Right.
and let's say I go with California per se. And coming on to this credits, uh, chartered accountancy has been recently recognized as a post graduation. You know, I
Right.
think it was 2 months or maybe 2 or 3 months back. So would that give us 60 credits, or the calculation you told me that seven exams of IPCC? I think the calculation would be one exam for entrance, uh, seven exams for IPCC, and eight exams for finals. So it brings us to 16 exams, and 16.5 would that be 80, 70 to 80 credits, or being post graduation, would there be some other calculation from now on?
See, the NASPA doesn't provide any credits for your CA foundation course.
Okay.
Um, for CA Inter, for example, you passed your CA Inter, but you could not pass your CA finals. So for your CA Inter will help you in getting some credits. So that also advantage, some people can take if they haven't passed the entire CA course. Um, so what I mentioned previously during the webinar, you get 5 credits for each exam of
Right,
CA Inter and CA final.
right.
Okay. So in my case, I passed my CA in 2014. So I had 8 exams for CA final and I had 6 exams for CA Inter.
All right, all right. We
So
had
depending upon that, so it might vary. 1 or 2 exams, number of exam might vary, but they're gonna give you 5 credits for each exam.
And how should we apply to NASBA to check up which state is eligible, or which one we should go for? Is it online, or we have to go through some channel?
Everything is online. You don't need any agents, you don't need any mediocres for your CPA journey. The only thing is you need support with the course material because it's not available freely. So coming back to your question, the NASBA has a service. They do provide support that which jurisdiction you could qualify, but again, you have to pay extra dollars for that. Currently, when you file an application with the NASBA to evaluate your foreign education, they charge $225 minimum. It might vary $10 or $15, with different state. But in case you want additional service with them, they might charge you around $125 for giving you the states, where you could be eligible. But if you're really confident, that you would qualify, you have sufficient credits, you don't need to worry.
Okay.
If you have your bachelor's, you have your master's, and you have your chartered accountancy also, sufficient. I mean, it's more than enough. And then you can select any state you want.
Is
at
there
the time
any
of
state
application.
that is, the superior state, or any state which has?
See, nothing is superior, nothing is inferior. It's all about where you want to pursue your career. I look forward myself working as a tax professional in California.
Okay.
So though I'm working with other states as well, but I prefer myself, having a license in California. So that was my first day mindset, and I'm working on that. I'm pursuing my entire license with California state. So I'm fixed on that. So I would suggest you just have a fixed mindset that will help you. You don't need to go here and there. That my friend is doing with that state, or some other person is pursuing some other state. Have your own independent thinking, your own career goals, that where you would like to pursue your CPA career.
Is there any limitations of choosing the state? Like you wanted California, you went ahead with it. Let's say I want to do something in Maryland, or maybe Virginia, different cities over there. Is there any limitation that I am tied to that state? You mentioned that you're working with other states, but I would like some clarity if there's any exception to that.
No, there is no limitation. The limitation will come into picture once you have, once you need to sign the documents. So some states might not accept the documents which are signed by a CPA of some other state. So depending upon those things, that's the only limitations. But yes, you want to pursue with Maryland, you want to pursue with Virginia, any states, but do check whether you are eligible to pursue those states or not. Okay. Because there might be some residency requirement, there might be citizenship requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
And is there anything like some recurring expenses, like in India we have CPE requirements, and we engage every year in structured CPE programs. So is there something like in USA? Because I know in CISA there is an CPE and there's a hefty.
So definitely, once you take your CPA license, you have the license, you have to comply with the CPE hours, and it's 80 hours for 2 years. So for 1 year, it's approximately 40. And CPE hours in the US is very costly.
Okay.
If you're paying 500 rupees in India, it's gonna be like $125, $150 for one CPE hour in the US. But then there are, I would share, there are a couple of CPE hours providers. They do provide it for free, but definitely you need to Google it around,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Next question: is there any exemption for chartered accountants of India in exams of US CPA?
Yeah, I mentioned this in the beginning. There is no exemptions because there is no agreement. There is no memorandum of understanding, and there is no mutual recognition agreement between the two countries.
Right.
So therefore, you have to appear for all the 4 exams.
Right. So next question: any plan that ICI has for getting into an MOU with or MRA with CPA US, so that those who are interested can get the benefit, and it should be top priority of the ICI?
See, at this point, the biggest advantage you have is that the CPA exams are conducted in India. So that's how, I took up the advantage of the entire situation during pandemic. Otherwise, you have to go out of the US sorry, out of India, you would go to Dubai, which is the nearest, the nearest center for you, and the tickets might cost you like 15 to 20,000. And the international testing, another point I would share, in answering this question, the CPA exam fee, if you have Google around, it's like $210 or $225 one exam. If you're giving that exam in the US, and if you're giving a particular exam outside the US, you have to pay $360 extra. So one exam is going to cost you like $560. So either you will pay the cost of going to the United States for the exam, or you would sit in India, give the exam in India. But then it's going to cost you $350 extra for each exam. So one exam, it's going to cost you like 40 to 50,000 of rupees.
So next question, with respect to experience, Anurag Gulani raised point. What about the CAs in service with regard to experience?
Could you please repeat that question?
So what about the CAs in service? Will the experience be counted or not?
In last 5 years, if you had the opportunity to work under a chartered accountant so that he could sign on your work experience, then that can work. Even if out of those 5 years, for 3 years, from last 3 years, you have been working as an employee in a job or government service. But if you think that you're going to have the work experience based upon the government job or private job, it will not help. They want a licensed person under whom you have the work experience in the last 5 years, maximum last 5 years.
Next question.
Hi, Hitesh. Sorry for intervention. Can I ask one question here?
Please, sir, please.
Thank you so much. Hi, Anshul. This is Pankaj here. So just one question, like you mentioned that we need to be working under a licensed profession like a chartered accountant in India. So, for example, I worked with Big Four in my previous stint. I was working. My associate director was a chartered accountant. Partner was a chartered accountant. I also moved out of the organization. They also moved out of the organization. So, how will I get the certification in that case?
Once you leave the organization, that's what you mean to say?
No. Yeah, no. Yeah. Question is basically, I worked with KPMG. Okay, worked with my manager was a chartered accountant. So I also left KPMG. He also left KPMG. I don't know where he is. But so in that case, I have to get certification. That he need to certify that I worked under him. How will I get that done? Or is it like the experience letter from the organization KPMG would help in that case? Maybe from the HR?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the KPMG, they might be having multiple, licensed persons in their organization. So the person, he has to certify that, that the person has worked on various audit assignments. As I mentioned, I mean, there are two types of license. The one is the audit license and the other is non-audit license. So if you're looking forward for the audit license, definitely you have to go through the entire process and you need a certified person, licensed person to sign the application.
Sure. So when you say audit, is it the stat audit or external audit or the internal audit? Like I worked with in risk consulting, risk advisory.
See, you have to first understand, when I say the foreign work experience is accepted, this is one example with California. It doesn't mean that you would apply across all the jurisdictions. So depending upon each jurisdiction, you need to research on their website, what kind of documents. But yes, definitely they don't specify that is it internal audit or external audit or what kind of audit assignment it is. But yes, definitely depending upon your working papers, that's what they mentioned, for California, that you need to submit your work papers and original work papers that they want to see. They will return it back to you. But now since everything has been electronically, you can submit the application on the website. So you just need to scan the original documents. But yes, you have the flexibility of submitting the documents. There is nothing like that it has to be a specific audit assignment. But yes, they do want to check what kind of audit you have done, what kind of audit assignments you have carried out, to what extent you have been engaged in that audit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So when you say audit, is it the stat audit or external audit? Like I worked with in risk consulting, risk advisory.
See, you have to first understand, when I say the foreign work experience is accepted, this is one example with California. It doesn't mean that you would apply across all the jurisdictions.
Okay, okay. So my last question would be in terms of these exams being carried out in India. So you mentioned that during this pandemic, this has picked up in India also, or getting organized in India. So it's a temporary arrangement, or it will be like go on in future as well.
Um, when I started, it was a temporary. They said
Mhm.
that they're just testing around. You know, how would the response be in India?
Okay,
So it was just June 2020 and September 2020. So by the end of the September 2020, they opened up the December also. And then once the December also came to end, they started 365 days testing in India. So whether they would continue on recurring basis or not, we have to wait and watch for that. But definitely, at least for 2021, it's available in India.
I would like to
okay.
add to that.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
The next question is from Mr. Deepak Singhal. Uh, his question is: do we have any challenge if individually process CPA registration process with NASBA? If yes, do we have any institute in India who can help us?
I don't think so that you would face any challenges with the NASPA. Definitely, before making an application, you can clarify your doubts with the NASPA authorities. You can email them directly, and they are quite convenient to approach. They will respond to you on the email. They might take a little bit of time because of the pandemic. Because the offices are not much working still in the US. They might take some time in processing the application as well, but definitely there's not much challenge with that. The only issue I would say you might have is um, getting the transcripts. So, for example, you did your graduation with some university, and that university is not cooperating because the transcripts has to be sent directly to the NESPA. They don't accept the transcripts from the candidate. In exceptional circumstances, they do. I would recommend to go and check out the website on the NESPA. But yes, having the transcripts from a university which has shut down or the university which is not cooperating, definitely ICA cooperates a lot. In my case, they sent directly to the NESPA and they emailed it to them. So you don't even have to send the physical documents.
So next question from Lokesh Singh: do we need to have CPA to work in Big Four consultancy firms? I don't think so.
Not necessary. One of my colleague, she is a chartered accountant. Recently, she started her job with the Deloitte, and she's working in the US audit assignment without having a USCPA certification. So it's not necessary, but if you really want to explore, to the US markets, US clients, definitely you will have a great advantage of being a certified public accountant in the US.
The last question from Mr. Pankaj Sachdeva: can I apply online with ICAI for transcript?
Yeah, absolutely, you can. They have a portal. You can submit an application. You have to just take the printout, sign it, fill it up, scan it with the ICI, and make a fee approximately around 1,500 to 2,000 rupees, depending which services you are taking with the ICAI and how you want them to send the transcripts. I would recommend you don't need to send it physically, but do check up the NASBA website with the recent updates. Email is gonna be sufficient for you, so you don't need to shed extra rupees, for sending physically, because that will cost 2,000 rupees extra. But depending upon how you want to do it, definitely you have all the services available with the ICI.
So another question from Mr. Deepak Singhal: whether our BCom marks matters. For example, it should be more than 60%. Any issue due to regular or correspondence course? How much is registration cost and exam cost?
That's a nice question. Your BCom exams marks has no relevancy with the USCPA. They just want that you should be passed, and they will allot you credits only for the exams which you have passed. That's it. So minimum numbers of criteria, it has nothing to do with the NASBA's evaluations. A person having a 90 number and the person having 50 number, the 90 doesn't support you with higher credits. So you will get 5 credits, or whatever credits they want to allot, they will allot you on the basis the exams you have passed. And regarding the costs involved in the USCPA, The first cost, it starts with the transcripts, with your educational institution or ICI, and that can cost you around 2,000 rupees. And then when you move forward to start filling up the application with NESBA, that's $225. And when you decide a state, you need to apply, you need to file an application with the state jurisdictions with whom you want to get registered. So technically, you get registered with state, not with the NESBA. NESBA is gonna just evaluate your foreign educational credentials. So $100 to $150, depending upon which state you want to apply. The state has their own fee. And after that, you apply for the NTS. NTS is like an admit card, to sit for the exams. So you need to pay for each NTS. For example, you want to appear for 2 exams or 3 exams at a time. So you can have those exams on your NTS. And then for the balance exams, you have to come back and apply again with the state to get the NTS. And then you pay for each exam $210 to $225 for each exam. If you are giving the exam in the US, so for example, considering our CA fraternity, we are in India, and you plan to go to US and give the exam, so there might be additional cost depending upon your travel, accommodation. So, or if you want to take the exams in India, which is the best way, you need to pay $350 to $360 extra. The NESBA has been, the Prometric has been increasing the fee. So they have increased $5 to $10 since 2020. So those are the overview of the cost involved, and this will cost you around 4 to 5 lakhs, including the course review providers. For example, Becker's, Sargent, Gleam, Wiley. So depending upon which course you want to pursue with, definitely due to COVID, huge discounts are going on, so you should take the advantage.
So all the questions have been answered. Now we can continue with your deliberation.
Right. So I would take the FAQs, and these are the FAQs by the ASCPA. So just let's take a look. Though I have answered a lot of questions now, considering the chartered accountancy credentials and other credentials in India. So let's take a look. What ASCPA has offered. So the first FAQ is, what's the right order to take each section? There is no mandatory requirement, that you have to go first with such exam or that exam. You can take any exam in any order. Then how long should I study? As I mentioned, the consistency is gonna be the key to pass the exam. So you can study like for 1 hour, 2 hours, but do spend more time on solving the questions instead of just going through the theory part. Then do all candidates take the same exam? They do change the questions, every quarter. But yes, sometimes if you are giving a repetitive exam, for example, we are in the month of May. So the quarter will be April, May, June. So for example, if we fail the exam in a quarter, so we cannot take the exam till the end of the quarter, which was the previous mandate, but now we can give the exam in the same quarter as well. So how do I find out when new content is eligible for testing? So as I mentioned, you need to follow the blueprints. So every year, the July month, they have a new blueprint. So you should definitely refer the blueprint for the exam changes. So what happens after I pass the exam? So once you pass the exam, if you want to pursue your CPA license, you need to appear for the ethics exam, which is completely MCQ based. And you don't need to even go to the Prometric. You can sit at home and give that exam, ethics exam, with your state CPA society. So what are the semester hours requirement? As I mentioned, minimum 120 to 150 credit hours, depending upon which state you are applying. But definitely for the license, they have 120 credit hours requirement. There are some exceptions. When I researched, I did the research across all the states for myself, and I came across 2 to 3 states, Montana, California, and Washington. They don't require even 120 credits to sit for the exams. So what are the exam requirements, experience requirements, sorry. So you have to be working under a licensed CPA, but it will depend upon which state you are applying with. So for example, the California, they do consider your foreign work experience. So it will all depend upon your documentations that you are submitting with the state authorities for the license and which license you are applying with. So what are the jurisdiction requirements? Now, considering the jurisdiction requirements, as I mentioned, they might have residency requirement, they might have citizenship requirement, they might have, other criterias for a particular state. So you should do check if you're looking forward to get registered with Texas or some other states or California or Montana. Go on their state website. They do have all the information. Everything is documented on their website. Have a look forward and then decide, whether it is whether you qualify with that state or not. So what is the passing score? I mentioned earlier that it is a 75. It sounds a little high for us because when we do our CA course or we do BCom, it's like 40%, 40 number, or 35, depending upon your educational institution. 75 is definitely at a higher level, but still it is not impossible. It is practically possible that you can achieve this. So when will I receive my score? The scores are declared in each month, I would say. Though AICPA has and the Prometric also has provided the dates, where they provide the scores at various intervals, but they do provide it, every month. And there is a special award, Elijah Watsels Award, and this is a special award which I was actually pursuing, when I started my CPA journey, and I was focusing to achieve this one, but luckily I missed the margin. So if you have 95.5 marks across all 4 sections and you pass all the exams in first attempt, so this is a prestigious award which approximately 70 to 100 candidates they get every year, depending upon their scores. So minimum requirement is 95.5 in all 4 sections, and you need to pass all these 4 sections in first attempt. So moving forward, like who oversees the exam? So I mentioned previously, the AICPA conducts it in partnership with NESPA and the Prometric. So the Prometric is the ultimate institution where you would go and sit for the computer-based exams. The NESPA is the authority where you would apply for the exam section. You pay your fee to the NESPA. You get your admit card, your NTS from the NESPA. Okay. So what is the role of the AICPA? AICPA just, it governs the entire CPA exam structure. So moving forward to what is the exam application process. So the first is to determine the eligibility. So you need to really check all your documents, your educational transcripts, that how much credits you think that you could qualify. Even if you are unsure, definitely you should file an application with NESPA. Nothing to worry. They will provide you which state you could qualify. They might charge an additional fee for that, but definitely that really supports, to remove the uncertainties that which states you could be eligible with. And once you file that application with the NESPA, they take around 1 to 1.5 months time to process. And once you submit the application, NESPA provides you the report. That report is forwarded to the state that you want the NESPA to share the report with. You register yourself with that state. The state gives you an approval. The approval comes approximately 1 to 2 months after the report is submitted by the NESPA. So the preliminary time frame, once you once you file an application with the NESPA and the time that you sit for the exam, so this period, it's gonna take approximately 2 to 3 months. So I would recommend that you should start your preparations, and definitely you will you will have an advantage, where if you have filed an application with NESPA that you don't know the jurisdiction, they can provide you that service, so that you can have a certainty that that you will be eligible to sit for the exams, and you don't waste, or you don't miss that crucial time period of 3 months. And then scheduling your exams. Once you receive the NTS, you can schedule the exams with the Prometric, which is near your jurisdiction. So for example, I'm in Ambala, I'm in Haryana. So for me, the Gurugram was like, it was like a whole day journey for me. Sorry. So I used to go in early morning, 6 o'clock. My testing time was 12 noon, 4 hours of the testing, and then I would come back again at 10 p.m. So you really need to check, what would be the best center to approach near your hometown. And then the NTS, which is really important. Every document, the NESPA provides you your evaluation report. It's valid for 12 months. The NTS will be valid from 6 to 9 months to 12 months, depending which state you have applied with. So be mindful, the NTS has an expiry. The NESPA evaluation report has the expiry. So what happens when these documents are expired? You go back, you pay the application fee again, they will provide you these documents again. Now, what is special for the international candidates? So the biggest question is, can I earn my CPA license if I'm not a US citizen? Yes, you can. And then applying to take up the exam, as I mentioned, that you need to apply with the NESPA. They will evaluate, and then you to have select a US jurisdiction, contact that state board of accountancy with whom you want to pursue your CPA application for the exams, and then you submit your application with the fee, and once you are qualified, then you can schedule your exam. So regarding the international testing locations, US CPA, they have started expanding the testing locations. The Gulf has so many locations, besides that Europe. But for India, now currently, I mean, you have the opportunity to give the exams in India. From last so many years, India was not a testing center. So regarding the IQEX, which means the International Qualification Examination, now this is only for those licensed professionals which are having their license in a specific country like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Hong Kong, Ireland, Mexico, Scotland, and South Africa. So you need to be a fully licensed person in these countries, and you need to obtain that license without the MRA or without any memorandum or without any exemptions. But this is not applicable in our case because India is not on the list. So definitely we have to appear for all the exams. So these are the last, top CA exam tips I would share. Finding a seat with the exam. So you should book your exam at least 45 days before the exam. Now, sharing my experience, for my last audit exam, I was clueless, whether I would be able to appear within the testing window, because I was completely on the edge of the closure of that window, and I applied for the Prometric appointment just 2 days before the exams. So I would never recommend anybody to do that, but I had some exceptional situations with me. So definitely the AICPA recommends to book at least 45 days for the Prometric appointment. So no cell phones are allowed. Your NTS should be valid, and you need to carry your passport to the Prometric. The passport should be valid. So do check all those technical scenarios, that might create problem for you at the day of the examination. Then introductory screens. This is an introductory screen on the computer when you sit for the exam. You have 5 minutes to review those, and then you need to accept those terms and conditions. And then if you have any issue during the Prometric, do raise your hand, because the exam is completely monitored by the CCTV camera. So they are making recordings for each and every activity that you are doing. So whenever you have any issues you want to report, just raise your hand and you can, the administrator will come and talk to you, what are the issues. And then if you want to reschedule, during the COVID times, I did reschedule a couple of times, between my 2 exams in a month. So therefore, you do have the flexibility to reschedule if you think that you're not prepared or there are some exceptional circumstances, in family or in home due to COVID. So you can definitely, you have the option to reschedule. Usually the Prometric, they charge $85 for rescheduling, but some circumstances they do refund or they do waive off the rescheduling fee. And then if you have any testing experience difficulties, you can share that with NESPA. You can file a complaint with the NESPA. And the last is the COVID-19 impact. So definitely the testing at the Prometric has altogether a different atmosphere. They're gonna sanitize the keyboards, seats, screen, everything for each candidate, because when you appear for an exam, there is possibility that some other candidate might have used the material, the keyboard, the computer, the seat, everything. So the Prometric is completely aware of the situation, and they do sanitize the entire Prometric testing center for the safety of the candidates. So on this point, I would end today's presentation, and I hope I shared some valuable information and inputs and guidance to all the participants who are available for this webinar. And I look forward to have an interaction. If you have any question or queries, you can forward it, and you can share it with the CA Hitesh Goyal ji, and he can move those questions to me and I can respond it for you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, sir, there are 1 or 2 queries in chat box, sir.
Sure.
Right. First query is from Mr. Deepak Singhal. Which one is the best study material and the cost for it?
As I mentioned, in India, you will find the Becker's name so much everywhere. But Surgeon is the #1 in this industry due to the fact that they have a similar technology as the CP exams. So when you will study, when you will prepare, they do have the artificial intelligence capabilities in their software to adjust the difficulty levels, as you will find in the CP exam. So they do have that advantage with the software. Otherwise, the Surgeon, the backers, the costs are down at this time. You can look for some of the authorized partners in India. They can provide you some discounts as well, and they are providing some scholarships as well. So please do take the advantage of this things at this moment.
Right. So next question from Mr. Pankaj Sachdeva. How about US visa for exams?
On the basis of the NTS that you receive from the NESPA, you can apply for the visa. I mean, they will provide a special document which says that this document will support your US visa application if you want to appear for the exams in the United States. So the NESPA will definitely support with that. Yeah.
Sir, there is a common question. Will the presentation be shared?
Sorry?
Sir, there is a common question from so many members.
Yeah.
Will the presentation be shared? Your PPT.
Yeah, definitely I can share this with all the participants.
Right. See, AnshulGoyal, he will share PPT with me and I will forward that PPT through WhatsApp. Please send your WhatsApp message on my number 98149258846. I will share that PPT to the respective member. So next question is from Mr. Pankaj Sachdeva again. How about Miles CPA review?
See, I don't have much experience about any institute in India because I did my all preparations by myself, truly speaking. So I purchased the material, I purchased the questions, I studied by myself entirely. So I removed all the mediocres, from the preparations, and that was the reason that I was able to pass the exams in just 5 months. So once you go to any institute, whether it's Miles or it's Simandar or it's there are a lot of names, so they do take a lot of time for preparations because they have to deliver each and every topic, each and every content to each and every candidate, so therefore they have their own restrictions of time frame because they cannot complete the entire course for one section in just 1 month. So I don't have that experience, to provide you any response that what a particular institute can support you with, but definitely you should check out the reviews on the LinkedIn, or you can check out the website. You can get in touch with them. They will help you out.
Right, sir. Another question from CA Swarn Singh Dosal. Any credits for law degree?
They do prefer the accounting and the costing credentials. So I don't think so the law would help, but definitely you should check out with NESBA. They can help in responding that. Ultimately, the point is, once you file an application with NESBA for evaluating your educational credentials, so the NESBA will provide its independent report. It doesn't mean the credits provided by the NESBA are gonna be approved by the state, which means, for example, in this question, you are a law professional. So if the NESPA gives you credits for your law professional, there might be circumstances that the state might not recognize. So you really need to get in touch with your state and with the NESPA as well, that how are they treating the law professionals, and are they considering the credits for that or not.
So there is a compliment for you from Mr. Deepak Singhal. It is a really an informative session. We are not able to get all such information at single place.
No, I really appreciate and I really understand. It's really critical for our profession to grow. There are huge professional opportunities in the US market sitting by in India itself. You don't need to go to US for anything. So I really respect my fraternity, and I really appreciate all the participants that they give their valuable times, and they considered me that I would share something valuable for them, and that they could get something advantageous for their future careers. So thank you so much for having me.
Last question in the chat box from Ms. Ruchi Chavda. Please give detail of non-audit license.
Sorry?
Please give detail of non-audit license.
Details for non-audit license, for example, the tax, the bankruptcy, all other areas, as a cost professional, as a financial professional. So besides the audit work, which might include the compilations, which might include a full-fledged audit assignments. So as a non-audit professional, you can sign a tax return, you can file a tax return, you can provide various consultancy services, you can do everything. You can provide incorporation services, you can do everything besides signing a financial statements.
Right. Members, all the questions in the chat box have been answered by our worthy speaker. If any member has any question, he can unmute himself and directly ask the speaker, else we are about to close the webinar. If there is any question pending from any member. CS Sorsing also, if you want to ask anything, you can unmute yourself also. We have given right of mute and unmute to the members itself. Right, sir. I think there is no question left unanswered from your side. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much for I, CA HiteshGoyal, on behalf of entire CA fraternity and the members attended this webinar. Would like to thanks a lot for sparing your valuable time in your busy schedule. As you told me, you are too much you are too much busy in the compliances of US, as you already told me. In spite of all that, you spare your time and enlighten our members. Thank you very much, C. AnshulGoyal, and also I would like to thank all the members for attending this webinar. Once again, thanks a lot to each and everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hitesh, for having me. Thank you so much.
Also, this webinar will be available on my YouTube channel, CA HiteshGoyal on GST. If any member want to listen that again, he or she can visit my YouTube channel, CA HiteshGoyal on GST, and listen this webinar again. And the PPT will be shared to member. If anyone wants to that, he or she can send me a message through WhatsApp. I will share that PPT through WhatsApp. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, really appreciate it.